What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Wave podcast here at the Culture Wave Media Network, and we are back, the whole Night of the Seven Kingdoms team, to discuss the penultimate episode, In the Name of the Mother. I'm going to be one of your hosts. My name is Darian Scalamoni. I am joined, as always, by Sean Villa.
Hello.
And Vinny Albano.
Hello, hello.
Boys, Peak Thrones is back. This episode is one that, so I want to start with the conversation around the episode, because we've been covering this now for, this is the 5th week we're covering it. And I want to first of all give credit to Sean, because before we started,
shout out Sean, everybody.
Shout out Sean, everybody. Before we started covering this show, I was kind of, when we talked about it, you were like, well, all I know is I want to cover Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and I'm like, I feel like it doesn't look that great. I feel like it's not like it's very off the beaten path from other Thrones, and I'm just like, you have the bad taste in your mouth from House of the Dragon, but you were like adamant. You're like, I want to cover this. Feel like I love Thrones. We should definitely cover it. And I was like, all right, let's cover it for the channel. Let's see how it does. And first couple episodes, I think we're like, yeah, it's a good show. You know, the last 2 weeks have been great, and this episode in particular is fantastic. But it wasn't until I went on Twitter the night before this episode came out, or the day of this episode dropping on Sunday, where my whole feed was people being like, shout out Sir Duncan, getting ready for the big trial of 7. Like, felt like the commentary around this show has now, the fervor has just grown week to week, and it got us to this point with this episode, which has a 9.8 on IMDb with 68,000 reviews as of this time. It's the 5th highest rated episode of anything Thrones related ever. And so that's my first thing for you, and then Vinny, you as well. Like, the overall kind of conversation happening around the show, are you seeing that as well? Did you feel like it was a proper build up, or do you feel like this is something that just came out of nowhere? Like, where are you at with the fandom for this?
I think what excites me so much about like the reception is that I was a season 8 live watcher of Game of Thrones. Sad, isn't it? But I loved the energy around the show. And it was at the exact same time that I think Infinity War had come out. So it was just, it was just this like great pop culture storm for me as a young lad, of just like being in the thing, you know, like, oh, this is like the fucking biggest show in the world. Everybody's talking about it. It was like that and Walking Dead for me. Were like two big shows that like everybody, like your teacher's talking about the Red Wedding, you know, like it was just such a insane cultural phenomenon, and I got so obsessed with this world right when it stopped being a thing. It was like right at the end of it, and then I got to watch everybody go, oh, it fucking sucks now, and then it shot down. So the fact that like I feel like people are talking about Thrones again, like it's peak, is so awesome for me. Like I love that. I love that I go into work this morning and people were like, did you see the Dunk and Egg episode? And I'm like, I did. Like, this is amazing. What is happening? Yeah. You know, like my boss is talking about like, dude, that Night of the Seven Kingdoms is pretty good. I'm like, hell yeah, we're back. Yeah. You know, so that's exciting. I mean, say what you will about the show, I just think like, even if you don't enjoy it, which I think is impossible because I think this is fucking fantastic. The culture is back. The people care about Thrones again. And I thought after what a disaster the season 8 of Game of Thrones was, that you were never going to buy back an audience like this. And I think people are like back on board. And like, I hope we could just ride that momentum, because I'm so into that.
Yeah, definitely. Vinny?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I am loving seeing all the memes online and all the just posts of how awesome this is. Again, I've said this on the previous episodes, but I think this episode really exemplifies the idea that this is a true traditional story arc that people can identify with very proudly. I also think that the idea of rising against, you know, tyrannical elite ruling class is very prevalent with what's going on today. So we're seeing like the guy from the hedges, the working class man, you know, make his way. And I think that underdog story will be timeless. It is timeless, and that it's very relevant for what's going on right now and why people love it so much.
Yeah, Sean, you talked about last week in the hero's journey and the way they're kind of capturing that in the essence of the show. And I do like we do give our flowers every week to Peter Claffey and Dexter Ansell, but I don't mind shouting them out every single week because the work that they're doing is like to get you so on board with so many characters in such a short amount of time in this world. It's a testament to how great the performances are.
Yes.
And it is interesting because obviously like the first couple weeks of this, like I said, it was being pitched more as a comedy. It recently came out that like it's going to run in drama for the Emmys this year. Which again, like it's not as typical to see a 30-minute drama, but I know that it's a show that's beloved by a lot of people. And I think that it will probably get a lot of recognition for the work that it's doing, because my biggest thing is that Ira Parker, who's the showrunner for this, has talked about coming off of this episode in particular. He's like, I love these characters so much. I love this world so much that he has a plan to eventually, like, he's like, I literally want to do this for the rest of my life with these characters. He's like, so even if we go, like, we do like 2 or 3 seasons with Egg at the age that he is, and then we move on to where Dexter and Peter are older and I'm doing the show again with different seasons, I'd like to do that. Yeah. Now, again, in the state of Hollywood and the way that works, who knows if they wind up doing it that way, or if HBO comes to him and he's like, you need to hire different actors to play these roles, which you hope doesn't happen.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that. But this episode in particular, In the Name of the Mother, it does a lot of things really, really, really well. It gives you the sense of the battle where as soon as you get thrown into the physicality and the violence, it then completely subverts the viewer by taking you to a flashback into how Dunk became who he was. But the big thing for me is that when we do finally get the action in this episode, it's just as good as other Throne stuff. And he talked about how they had about 25% of the budget that other Thrones episodes would have gotten for an episode of this scale, which is why it's so awesome, because it's still presented in a way that feels very Game of Thrones in a different kind of way, you know?
I think this is the best action scene that the Thrones universe has had other than the Battle of the Bastards, honestly. Like, yes. I really just think it's so captivating. I think a lot of the time when I watch shows or movies, I think to myself that, like, wow, that armor looks really cool, but it doesn't really like do anything. And this is the first time I've been watching a fight where I was like, wow, like that's some good armor he's got on. Like, this guy's actually like taking like realistic blows. And like, I don't want to like geek out on fight choreography because I'm not really knowledgeable like in that kind of stuff, but the fight feels so gritty and like real and just like tussling and bustling and rolling in the mud. Right. And I just thought it was so captivating. I love that Dunk gets the shit kicked out of him in such like a believable way, because he's this giant guy, like he's a huge imposing guy with a fucking broadsword, and like I just think the way that it's choreographed to really make you believe that, like, yeah, he's getting stabbed, he's getting punched, he's getting hit in the face with a mace, like he's out of town. It's just so believable, and I'm like there with him. I love the POV from inside the helmet, and the sound design where like when we're with him we get like that muffled hearing and the ringing. Like, it's so immersive. Like, you feel so grounded. We're not cutting away to like the other people fighting. We're just like there in the mud with Dunk. And I just think it's like, it's technically perfect. Like, I just think it's really, really, really well done. Yeah. And Vinny, I know you share that passion that I do for it.
Yeah. So I have to go on my little, I got to give this episode its flowers, because one, I'm going to piggyback right off of you. This is probably the best full armor medieval fight scene I've ever seen. I will say that. Boom. Hands down. I will say that hands down, because not only has this managed to first set the foundation to every good fight scene needs a good foundation of character, of emotion, and these episodes previous to this have brilliantly done that, where I literally am feeling shocked, disgust, and emotional seeing Dunk get hurt, which is the exact foundation that you need for every good fight scene, right? Or less, it's just meaningless action. But this is not meaningless action. And then, like you said, Owen Harris, his direction to give those POV shots, as well as the cinematographer Gustav Danielson, which I think he's credited to 3 episodes. I'm not sure exactly which ones he has done, but comparing to some of the other episodes, which I'm assuming those are the ones he hasn't done, This is so much better cinematography wise. I want to see a behind the scenes breakdown because it's beautiful, it's dark, it's gritty. They're shooting on these epic wides, and I don't know what the camera is mounted to, if it's a steady cam or what, but it's whipping with the characters in such emotion that it's like I saw them do this on One Piece live action, funny enough, and they did it really well there. There's so much weight behind every single move, and the camera is adding to that. Like you said, the choreography, I know behind the scenes, the actor who plays Arian as well as Peter Claffey have said that Dunk is just, he doesn't know how to properly fight. It's just heavy swing, whoa, whoa, and then Arian is fast, snappy, and violent. And it's so powerful. Every single decision that Owen Harris makes, as well as the rest of the cast and crew here, is so powerful. This is the best. It doesn't get better than this. Swear to God. Absolute cinema. I'm saying it here and now.
It's a really impressive episode of TV, especially in the fact that they're able to do what they do in 37 minutes. Like you said, talking about how great the fight choreography is and how epic the scale feels for something that is, it's only, like, again, Battle of the Bastards is hundreds of thousands of characters, where this is, we're getting 14 characters, and you really aren't getting much other than really Arian and Duncan in terms of like the close combat type of stuff. Like you're getting elements of seeing other characters, like Stefan, right, is another one that
you get moments of it, but again, like I think it has to do with scale. And again, like I'm not a fight choreographer. I'm not sure if I can like really attest to the science behind it, because I'm sure that there is. But at least for me, like, what are the moments you remember from Battle of the Bastards? It's Jon Snow standing there, just him with the sword and all the horses charging at him. It's him when he's in between all the bodies and the sword and he's reaching up or whatever. Like, just these like beautiful moments, but they're with him. Like, they're grounding it with the character. What is this character that we care about experiencing in this like giant, terrifying moment? And I think that this scene like just really understands that like we care about Dunk and like we're with him. Like when he falls down, the camera's down with him. And when he's on the horse, we're up there with him. We're in his helmet. Like it feels so intimate in a way that just like really brings up the intensity, because we've seen two people fight with swords a million times in this franchise. Yeah. And I think to like make it feel this powerful is just like such a technical feat. And I got to say, when we cut away from the fight at the start, my first thought was like, fuck. Like, are we not going to get to see it? Or
yeah,
like,
I thought that too.
We're going to do some, like, stupid, flashback that, like, I don't care about. But it ties into the fight, because it's not only showing that, like, Dunk has this reason to kind of be, like, angered by authority, but it also shows that he's, like, a scrappy young kid who grew up in a slum, and the only fighting he knows is tackling and biting and punching. And, it's stuff that a prince would never know. And then we get to see that come out in the fight, that he's this gruff and he's kicking and he's fucking smashing him with the shield, like shit that that this pompous guy has never trained for. So like it connects in that way, and that's on top of the great like get up boy sentiment,
I was so the Sir Arlen stuff for me is so good in this, because you keep hearing over the last 4 weeks like the honor that he's serving for Sir Arlen, and we just see him as this dude who's like a drunken fool who, again, like you get it even in this episode, that he sleeps on his knife and he causes himself to have like a wound that he's like, you stupid fool. Like this is just kind of the way the character is. But the way that he put his life on the line to save a young Dunk, it calls to the fact that Dunk believes that it really is in his best interest and in his driving motivator to do right by what that man did, that gave him honor and gave him all that stuff. And you hear him talk about it, but until you get to see it with your own eyes and you see the tragedy that befalls the young girl who he's in love with at a young age, who winds up getting her throat slit, that you see in the flashback, it adds so much understanding for the viewer to why Dunk is the way he is. The again, the honor that he kind of serves with Arlen and where that all comes from, that gives him, like you said, that driving, motivating factor to kind of get through this brutal thing that he's never experienced before.
Yeah, I mean, it's powerful stuff. It's simple stuff. Like, again, like we talked about it last week and the week before, that like these are not necessarily like new things that we're doing with the character, but the way that they're presenting it is just stuffed with so much heart. Like, it's so believable. My dad, who I watched it with, was saying, like, he said, very Rocky. This is very Rocky. When he's like getting up again, it's just it's just something that we love about characters that just have that, like, never quit attitude. You're gonna get back up. You're gonna keep taking those punches. You're gonna keep fighting because it's the right thing to do. It's just shit that like just makes you cheer, man. It's just exciting TV, and I think it really connects. Like, everything's working. I think Peter Claffey's amazing. I think the cinematography is great. The sound design's great. The story and the writing and the way that it's all kind of like composed and just presented to you as a medium is just like, I don't have anything but nice things to say about it. I was so worried, and I'm sure that if you go back, you could hear me talk about how I was worried about how the show was going to do violence, because it was kind of like funny and like kind of cutesy or whatever. Like, are we going to kind of play this off in a more like joking way? It's going to be more like chivalrous, like fun night story. And it's like, no, when this show gets serious, it's going to be serious. And it doesn't take away from the fact that it's still like fun and heartwarming. So I think to like call it what I may have called it, which is like cozy and like cute, is almost undermining like what this is, because really what I think it is that it has a ton of heart. And I think that has been absent from this franchise for such a long time that it coming back almost tricked me into thinking that it's going to be a different kind of show, when it's not. It's still Thrones. It's just, it's got hope in it in a way that it hasn't had in a long time.
Yeah, for sure. One thing we didn't talk about from a technical level, on top of, again, the cinematography is great. The effects that they wind up doing with the fog and the way the costume design in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Dude,
yes, sir.
The armor's sick. I mean, my boy Lionel, my favorite armor maybe in the history of Thrones, with the antlers and the gold. I think that regardless of him being a piece of shit, but Arian's
the dragon mask.
Yeah, it's so awesome. And I've seen a lot of people on Twitter talk about Egg's drip. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but when they get him in his Targaryen garb, he looks great, dude. The kid looks great in what he's wearing.
I think. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Vinny.
No, you're good. I just really quick adding to that. This is by far the best costume design out of all Game of Thrones and House of Dragon.
Okay, I was about to say the same thing.
It's so good. Yeah.
And again, they're working with smaller budgets. Like, that's the most impressive thing to me, that I think that this show is able to encapsulate that feeling, like you said, Sean, of Game of Thrones proper in a much smaller series, because it is more self-contained. It is something that is, again, yes, it exists within the same world, but it is telling really the story of, it's not really telling the story of one character, because we're starting to get the Ancellaries and, again, the Baratheons and now the Targaryens especially. I'm very curious where we go for the finale with this, because, I mean, our boy winds up dying in the end of the episode.
True.
Which,
R.I.P.
pour one out to the goat, because, I mean, Bertie Carvel, who plays Baelor, again, I think I brought this up in last week's episode. It was like, there's just something so endearing about his character. Like, you really understand he's a man of honor, and he's somebody that really believes in the fact of fighting the good cause. And I don't know if any of you guys have been seeing this, but a lot of people believe that Maekar kills him, and it could be purposeful to take over for the eventual throne. I don't know if you would.
It's possible. I really don't know like the lore in that aspect of it, but that reminds me of a thought that I had when the episode was over, which is once that it was revealed that he was killed and that it was probably Maekar, I actually thought, I wonder if you can see it.
So there's one shot when Arian and Dunk are fighting, and then it does a quick pan over, and it shows Baelor in the middle of fighting two people, and one of them is Maekar, and one of them is somebody else, maybe one of the Kingsguard. But he has a similar thing. I think it's like a mace. Yeah. And he hits him in the back of the head with it. Maekar.
Oh, there you go. Right. And so like that could be it.
Very, very quick. Yeah. But like people have broken it down on Twitter. So again, shout out to the
See, like on that's the kind of shit that I love.
Yeah. Me too.
Like that makes me want to go back and rewatch the episode, because it's like you don't have to show that. It would ruin the surprise if you showed it, but just having it be there, it's just like a nice little like awesome detail to throw in. You didn't have to do that. Yeah. You didn't have to give like.
Well, they don't give it a central focus either, which is like it doesn't give you a cutaway to a close up of that blow happening. It's such a quick like voom right back to the action with Dunk.
I feel like Ira Parker and the whole like costume and set design team are familiar with the art that was done for the official books of like anything in this world, like the History of Westeros book or like the World of Ice and Fire, because those illustrations are, I mean, it's like they ripped them like straight out of the page for this. And I think that does like a real number for fans like me, because I've like pictured like what this like time period looked like and what these events would look like when they played out, and I feel like they're just so spot on. And it just makes like this amazing, like, I don't even know, dude. I'm really loving this show. Like I could ooze on and on about it. I think it's so great. But yeah, everything about it I'm just in love with, honestly.
Yeah. Vinny, is there something else you had that you wanted to touch on? Because I know it's an episode that you, again, deeply love. You've been talking about it all over your own social media recently. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like you guys said, and like I said before, just overall, it's an incredible episode. The impact of the flashback, adding, the get up, makes it so more powerful. What I really wanted to talk about, though, is I love the little callbacks, right? We talked about the prophecy, which obviously now we know the prophecy.
Oh, you're so right.
Yep.
You're so right.
Because as you said, Sean, in the previous episode, Game of Thrones prophecies, they work. It's usually like, it's like you worded it perfectly, right? It doesn't work out the way that it exactly is perceived. And that black dragon that died on top of Dunk was Baelor, which was like, yes, like I love that. That was, once my brain made that connection, I was like, oh, like it's satisfying for the viewer. And then also, again, similar to that, right? Setting up and paying off. Also in the previous episode, Dunk or Egg's retelling of Arian coming into his room and threatening to cut off his genitals, right? Guess what fucking Dunk does? Boom! Yeah. Sword right to the, the inner thigh. Probably cut that shit clean in half. And there's an emphasis on it, right?
Yeah.
Like he's like, like he literally like puts his fingers in the wound, is like, what have you done? Like type of look. Right. So I love that callback. I think that makes this act of not even vengeance, but so much more than just that. It's powerful and it's satisfying.
Did you have something to follow up on?
Dude, I don't know. I mean, I just think we just did the review for Crime 101, and that was a movie that I felt like didn't really have too much purpose behind a lot of the stuff that happens in it. And this is a show that I feel like almost everything that happens has purpose behind it. It's well thought out. Like nothing seems meaningless in it. And that just screams to me that the people that are involved in this really care. They really care about like how this story is going to be interpreted. And I actually think that George Martin really cares. Yeah. And that is the first time that I felt like George Martin really cared about this franchise in a long time. Because I think he kind of like let the House of the Dragon people do their own thing after a certain point. And was like, whatever, it's unadaptable. I'm just like, let it go. I think I've seen him do interviews about this show, and I can feel like the passion in the show, which gives me hope that like this will continue to be a really good show. Barring some kind of like executive tragedy of like we're gonna replace the showrunner, or we're gonna take half the budget away, or we're gonna wait 3 years to release the season, some stupid nonsense that could ruin this. I think if you just let these guys cook, crazy as it might sound, this could be like Game of Thrones legacy. Like if this show keeps going at this pace, I mean, like I love season 1 of Game of Thrones, but season 1 of Game of Thrones was not hitting this hard for me. Like I think this might be the best first season of anything in this world, especially if it ends well next week. So yeah, man, I mean, to be like really excited about a Game of Thrones show that's back on, and to think like this could even surpass what I was, fell in love with the world in the first place. Like that's a super exciting feeling. Yeah. And I'm going to stay optimistic because so far I've been given no reason to not be. So
yeah, it's impressive what they're doing. And again, just the fact that Baelor dies, there's so many ramifications for the rest of this world and what would and wouldn't happen. I mean, if Baelor stays alive, he probably becomes king, and Egg doesn't get to that point, and then we don't have King Aerys II, who was the Mad King, killing Ned Stark at the beginning of Game of Thrones. Yeah. So like we don't have those moments happening if this doesn't wind up happening, if Baelor doesn't go on to defend Dunk, which is so interesting. And again, it's like a lot of that stuff that we talked about in the beginning when we started covering this show, where like we don't know kind of the legacy and the lineage. But now the way that they're going about it, it makes me want to learn more, and it makes me interested to see where they go, even though this is so contained, because just the way they're presenting it, like you said, it's really, really, like, that's my biggest thing for this is I'm so impressed with how quickly they were able to kind of get the fandom to be like fully bought in.
Yeah.
You know, like they do it in 2.5 hours of TV. Like that's nowadays, that's not a lot.
Right.
You
This
know,
is one movie, really.
Yeah. Which
one
George R.R.
movie.
Martin originally wanted to do it as a movie. He
Yeah,
wanted to
and
do
it
a
probably could've
2-hour
worked.
Dunk and Egg movie. Yeah.
It could have worked. I mean, I like the fact that it's not because hopefully that means that we'll get a quicker turnaround time on it.
Mhm.
I had something. Oh, yeah, just a hilarious thought I was thinking about this tournament. Imagine, like, I would love a scene, and I don't know if this happens in the books or whatever, but what I'm kind of like banking on for my next episode, which I guess transitions if you guys want to talk about like theories, because you guys still don't know what happens, right?
No.
Yeah, so I would love a scene of Lord Ashford, who's the guy that runs this tournament, just being like, what happened? Because that's essentially like if you were hosting a quinceañera and then like Michael Jordan showed up and played street ball with some like random guy. You know, like it's an insane level of just like what is happening.
Yeah.
Right now. So I would love like a scene with him. I think there's room for comedy to kind of like bring us back to that like charming Duncan Egg on an adventure. So that's what I'm hoping for. I do love that tone, and I think this is a well-deserved break from the tone. But I want to get back into that cozy Duncan Egg hanging out on an adventure style.
Yeah, I'm curious. I don't really know where they're gonna go with
I don't know
the
either.
finale, and
So
which
exciting.
is exciting. There has to be an aftermath in terms of how people are affected. I mean, obviously Dunk is really beat up.
Yeah.
And the ramifications of what it means that now Baylor's gone, and what does it mean for Arian? He's got some brutal injuries, and he gave up on the battlefield to Dunk, and what that means now again for the relationship of Dunk and Egg now. Where do they go from here? I don't really have many theories, but I think that's because I'm trying to just take it for what it is every single week, because like it's not that it's not fun to think about theories for things like this, but it's different than like a Marvel thing, you know? Like it's
well, you trust it.
yes,
You know?
exactly.
You trust it.
Vinny, you
Yeah,
got anything?
I don't really have much else to add. This episode was a 10 out of 10 for me. It is incredible, and I'm so excited to see where they go. Speaking, pivoting off of what you were saying, the lore and all this other stuff. I am curious. There's been some spoilers that has been slipping out of Dexter's mouth. He's like Tom Holland with Spider-Man spoilers.
Oh, that's not. He came out. Peter Claffey came out and said that has nothing to do with the show. Which again, that could just be.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say if I just dropped a spoiler.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. I'm just saying though that like there are some big ramifications of if they keep continuing this to the point where the novellas haven't adapted, the later half of Dunk and Egg's stories when they're much older.
Mm-hmm.
That's big. That's big. And then we're writing canon as we're writing
That's
new
true.
canon.
That's true. This is kind of an opportunity. Again, that's why I'm so excited about this showrunner and like this decision. Just because I think like these guys care enough that I could buy that like if George doesn't have the novels done, they could probably like make the notes work. I think like they could find the sauce in here and they can keep it going. But I mean, that's what I thought about Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, a lot of people were. A lot of people didn't expect Thrones to go that way. But I had some bookmark tweets that I had about what Parker
segment.
had said. Let me pull them up. I meant to pull them up before the episode.
Culture
but I didn't
Wave
have a
tweet
chance to.
reading.
This is but this has to do with some of the things that he's talked about that he wants to do with the show, going forward, and maybe that'll allude to some of the things that we'll see. Here we go. He says that his goal with the series is to follow Dunk and Egg's entire lives. So he wants to do 4 to 5 seasons with Egg as a child, return 10 years later for 4 or 5 seasons with Egg as a prince, and then return another decade later for 4 or 5 seasons with Egg as an adult. And he said it would be over the course of their lifetime and mine too. So, I mean, that's 15 seasons worth of TV. I don't know if we're going to get that.
I mean, that's a huge scope.
Yeah.
But I mean, how crazy would that be?
It would be unbelievable.
Yeah, that would be historic.
It would. It would be very different. And
Boyhood, if it were a TV show.
Boyhood colon Game
You guys
of
remember
Thrones.
iconic Boyhood, the movie
Yeah.
Boyhood?
Yeah, Richard Linklater. Yeah, absolutely. That is funny. But no, hearing that again, like I think it really just alludes to what you talked about, Sean, where the passion that he has for this show, and George has talked about in interviews. He said this is one of the stories that he feels most connected to that he's written within this world.
Yeah.
So, again, no offense to George, don't know if he makes it that long to get through 15 seasons.
Yeah.
Especially if it's going to take place decades later. But I do think that Ira Parker is the right person to kind of have it in his hands and see where they decide to go with it. So very excited for the finale. Really enjoyed the penultimate episode. I feel like we all probably would give it a 10 out of 10 if we were scoring the episode individually. But really excited to talk about it next week. We've enjoyed covering this week to week. Let us know in the comments. What are your guys' thoughts on In the Name of the Mother, the Night of the Seven Kingdoms, episode 5? All your theories for the finale. What did you like about this episode? What were some of your favorite aspects of the way that they constructed this episode? Give this video a like if you guys can, and subscribe to us here at the Culture Wave Media Network. We're also on social media if you guys wanted to follow us there if you don't already. All that stuff is below me in the video. It's also in our YouTube description, and we have plenty of other stuff on the channel for you guys to check out in film and television, so please be sure to do so. But just signing off, I'm Darian Scalamoni.
I've been Sean Villa.
And I've been Vinny Albano.
And we'll see you guys next time.
This is the culture.